Do not go get with the girl who has kids. Let me tell you why. If you go get with the girl that has kids, I don't care if she's a 10 on a 10 on a 10. She's the hottest thing out there. I'm going to tell you why. If you get with the girl that has kids, you're not just getting with that girl. You're getting with her and her kids. And you're accepting, and you have to accept the fact that there's all kinds of elements that are going to be at play here. A lot of times what happens is these guys will get with these girls, these females that have kids from different relationships, and they don't really think about the full capacity of what that entails now. All they see is this really fine girl that they want to be with, and physically they're attracted to them, and then they kind of like set these pieces aside in their mind, like, oh, okay, I got this really beautiful girl that I'm talking to. Yeah, she has a kid from a different relationship. Yeah, her son is like 4 years old, or her son is 7 years old. Or, yeah, this girl, she's got a couple kids from another relationship, and, you know, yeah, a couple baby daddies, you know, yeah, you're not really thinking about it. What you're thinking about, really, to be honest, is you're just thinking about the girl. And you're thinking about the chick that you're going to be with. But you can't do that. I'm telling you, you can't do that. From my own experience, you can't do that, because you're going to come in, and if you got that mind mentality that, you know, you're going to come in and, okay, you can give her a better life and you can give her kids a better life. What you really, really have to do is you have to sit down and do a full psychological evaluation on yourself and say, hey, am I ready for something like that? And there's so many factors that are involved when you enter into the role of being a step parent. There's a factor of how involved do you have to be with these kids? How much do you have to put in? How much energy you got to expend to guide them, to lead them, to nurture them? Are their dads present in their life? Are their dads not present in their life? Each and every one of these has a different outcome. Say you get with a girl, she has a kid, one kid. Say she did one of those knucklehead moves, or she was a teenager, a girl in high school, fresh out of high school, and she's with this guy. They have an oops. You know, they end up pregnant, having a kid. These are kids having kids. I'm going to be quite frank with you. These are kids having kids. They haven't lived life. They haven't experienced life. The only life that they lived is through YouTubes and MTV shows and Amazon Prime videos. Right? They haven't really gone out there and experienced life. Even if they made it to the point where they graduated, they're still kids. In my personal opinion, you're really not an adult yet. You're really not a mature adult until you're in your late 20s, early 30s. And even then, you're basing your life off your own experiences. So if you're one of those 20, 30-year-old people out there who's just, you still living at home with mom, and maybe you have a job, you haven't really went out there and experienced life. But let me digress here. Let me go back to the subject. Look, if you're going to get in a relationship and a girl, or this could be for girls too, if you're going to get in a relationship with somebody who has a kid from a previous relationship, you got to really evaluate that. You have to take the time to accept that kid or kids in the entirety of what they are. And that's really getting into the aspect of, are you going to give up on them when things get tough? Because now you're not just walking away from the person that you're going to be with, the mom, the girl, the boy, whatever, right? I'm just going to stick from a guy's perspective. You're not just walking away from the girl, you're also walking away from a kid's life that you came in and try to make some type of impact. So you really, really got to take that and digest it. You know, if you're getting into a serious relationship. You know, I'm going to tell you from my own experience. I'm married now, and my wife had 2 kids from a previous relationship, from 2 different dads, a boy and a girl. Audrey's 12, she's about to be 13, Eli's 9 going on 10, right? And when I came into their life, Eli was 7 and Audrey was 10. Both in elementary school, still pretty young. And I've taken a lot of different classes, parenting classes, and I got a lot of life experiences to kind of rivet off of that kind of gives me my guide. I'm not going to get on here and say, hey, I'm this perfect guy, I'm this perfect dad. No, I make mistakes all the time. But I have learned a formula on how to be a better dad each and every day. And I'm going to teach you guys that formula. But before I get into the formula, what I want to tell you guys is that you guys got to really take into account for that. And if you're listening to this, if you're on this channel, if you're subscribed to this channel, obviously you're here to try to better yourself. You're obviously here to get sound advice that you can apply to your life today that's going to start helping you become better as a dad, period. So that's what this is for. So you guys are still sticking around. Let me get into it, right? You got step kids. That's what this video is about, is being a step parent. You're going to have to do what's in the best interest of that kid. You're going to have to do what's in the best interest of that child, whether it's maybe their dad is involved into their life or maybe their dad isn't involved. Let me go deeper into it. So my son Eli, right, I try not to use the term step really, because I think step, using the terminology of step, is really like a derogatory thing. Steps are for walking on, right? I really don't like that. So my son Eli, his real dad, this guy's something else. I'm not going to go too much into it, but this guy came through. When I got with my wife, he came and he would pick Eli up every other weekend. They had this agreement, you know, every other weekend he would pick up Eli and spend the weekend with him. The same thing with Audrey's dad. Like, Audrey's dad has the same agreement, right, every other weekend. And when I first got involved, it's something you really have to be delicate about. You can't come into the picture, even the kids, like, you can't come into a kid's life and just sit there, hey, I'm your dad now, and you know, you got to do what I tell you to do. You have to earn their respect. You have to earn that position in their life, and you earn that through every single day being repetitive, being consistent, being compassionate, being loving and kind. I'm going to get into like the deeper psychological aspects of it and speak some truth to you guys. But when I first got involved, what ended up happening was, you know, I introduced myself to these dudes, and I'm saying, you know, this is who I am. And I came into Michelle's life and everything did a 180. You know, we got our own place together and we're trying to like blend this family together. And, you know, I'm never one of those guys who's going to sit there and hold somebody's past against them. You know, everybody should have a chance at redemption, second chances and things, right? So all I heard was all this bad stuff about these dudes from my wife's family. Like, oh, this guy never shows up. This guy doesn't do this. And these guys just like to try to walk all over Michelle. These guys try to do this and these guys try to do that. And at first, you know, the guys were pretty respectful. And, you know, I sat both of them down and said, look, you know, I'm coming into these kids' life not to take away from your position, your responsibility as their father or anything else like that, but let's get down to it. The brass tacks of the situation is I'm going to be spending more time with your children than what you are. So it's better for us to be on the same team, be on the right page, and start off on the right foot. So I would have these pretty in-depth conversations with Eli's dad, especially, like, updating him when he'd come pick him up and updating him about school and updating him about how he's doing. If I had like really serious behavioral problems from Eli, you know, being disrespectful or not wanting to do chores or whatever it was, you know, I would get his real dad involved and say, hey, this is a situation. Can you have a talk with them? Can you know, because as a step parent, really, I don't really believe in corporal punishment. Some of you guys may clown me, or some of you guys may say, oh, well, I do, you know, we'll whooping, whatever. Here's what I know to be facts. Pain is a very, very, very valuable teacher. If you go do something and it hurts and you're a smart person, you're not going to want to keep doing that stuff no more. But is pain the only way of teaching somebody? It's not. Is pain the most beneficial way of teaching somebody? It's not. Because then with pain, all you did with pain and using pain as a mechanism of teaching is you've taught them to fear something. Don't do this, I'm gonna whoop your ass. Don't do that, or I'm gonna I'm going to spank you. Don't do this. Or, you know, you inflict some type of pain. You know, you're teaching your kids to be scared. You're putting fear into them. And it's a bad kind of fear. It's a fear that you're going to lose eventually when you're doing the long game. The long game of parenting is a long game. It's not something you do just for a year, 2 years. You do it for the entire life of your child. So to break that down for you, I don't believe in whoopings. I don't believe in spanking. I don't believe in corporal punishment. I did at one point in time. I was raised, getting my butt whooped, getting my ears pulled, getting switched, paddled. I mean, you name it. I got it. And once I hit 12, 13 years old, those whoopings didn't bother me anymore. Yeah, they hurt. Yeah, they you know, put some pain registered things in my mind, but my willpower, my hard-headedness overrode that pain. So that's where the pain / fear wasn't applicable no more. And after my parents realized that it doesn't impact them anymore, what they ended up doing was going through other sources, you know, all basically control. So that's what I would go through. And I would never touch any of these kids. I would never raise my hands to them at all. You know, talk to them, extra chores, punishments such as extra reading time, no TV, you know, no game time. These are all different levels of punishment. Even sometimes just taking a time out. I don't look at that as punishment. Just look at it as like reflection. Like, hey, we all need a time out sometimes, even as adults. So when I needed that, you know, that stern, you know, talking to with Eli, I would say, okay, hey, I'm going to get your dad involved. And that's the extent of our relationship. After about a year, everything took a 180. Like, both these dudes ended up falling off. We ended up moving. And then that's when I realized with Eli's dad that this guy wasn't the guy that I thought he was. He portrayed himself out to be this really good father, this guy who really cares about his son and all these other things. But when we moved, I talked to this guy and I said, hey man, we're going to be moving to a house. It's a nice 3-bedroom house. We're going to be getting these things. The kids are going to have their own rooms, and I'm really keeping them involved. And this guy did a whole 180 on me. Once I pulled the trigger and we actually moved, he filed to the court, went and told the courts that we're trying to run away from, you know, him, not let him see his son. All of this was centered around disrespect. And I got into it with him because I told him, like, I'm a man of principle. I'm a man about respect. Like, as long as you are respectful, I'm going to give you that same respect in return. These are the deep, dark problems of being a step parent. You know, so I had to drop thousands of dollars on an attorney, humble myself, because I could have really taken this guy to court. He has a really not so good past that he won't admit to, domestic violence, you name it. Not a really good dude. And this guy's a master manipulator. Like, he will be confronted by the whole world about things he's done wrong, and he'll straight deny it. To this day, he argues with his son when he's interrogating him after he picks him up from visits. Like, and it's all about my wife right now. And that's all it is. And he's just one of those guys. He's one of those exes that haven't gotten over somebody. You know, we all might have one of those, right? I definitely got one. So that's the extent of it. So there comes times when I'm fighting through these things and it gets hard. It gets emotionally hard and draining because you're just sitting down as a dude and you're like, man, this wasn't even my responsibility. Like, this, no support, no child support, no nothing. You got egotistical males that are trying to be involved for the sake of, well, that's my baby mama. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything out there at all. And I think that what happens is guys who are abusers, they abuse the hell out of these girls until the girls can't take it no more, or they're smart enough, they leave. And what ends up happening is that they long for that sense of power, that sense of control, because at one point in time they had it. At one point in time, they had that ultimate control over somebody's life. So instead of having the control over the girl's life that they were a part of, they now use that same like force and control their child. And then it's not the best interest of the child. It turns into this really sick, twisted, vindictive thing of like, oh, I say I care about you, but I'm going to abuse you whenever you come over here. I'm going to emotionally abuse you. I'm going to, are you more scared of me? Are you more scared of him? Just weird, nasty, sick questions like that. And it's really disturbing. So when it comes to being a step parent, it's difficult because you're really challenged with those ideas. You're challenged with those things. And to be quite honest, there's going to be times when you're going to feel powerless. You're going to feel powerless as a parent. You're going to feel powerless as a dad, because what you're really trying to be is you're really trying to step into this kid's life and form and mold this kid that wasn't even your responsibility, none of your biology at all. And that's the other component to it is, biologically speaking, we are primal creatures, and something that isn't your offspring, you're inherently, like even in nature, like you'll go out there and see, you know, all different types of species try to kill offspring that's not theirs. I mean, we're talking about from mammals to, you know, reptilians to spiders even. I mean, it comes down to that they will it's even crazier. Like they have even females that will go out there and they don't want their litter, so they'll go kill their babies. That happens in dogs even sometimes. Cats. I mean, nature's different. Nature is very primal, but we are primals. We are a primal species, so we have that inherent thing. So when you're dealing with that, you're just kind of sitting down with your mind and with your thoughts, like, what am I doing? Why am I putting so much effort and time and energy into this little being that's not even my responsibility? Well, guess what? You're wrong. It became your responsibility when you signed up and you decided to be with that girl. And you knew that she had a kid from another relationship. That's what you signed up for. It's a package deal, my guy. It's not just, oh, I'm with her. Like, I'm not with just Michelle. It's Michelle and her kids, and she's Hispanic, so her whole family, you know? So that's what you got to look at. If you're just in it for a smash and grab, a hit it and quit it type mentality, then that's what you do. Do not get involved. But I'm going to tell you one thing, that if you're putting yourself in a situation where you're trying to do that in and out type thing, tap in, tap out, hit it and quit it, you know, on to the next one, that's kind of messed up, man. Because what you're dealing with is you're dealing with this fractured individual that obviously already has self-esteem issues, and then knowing that they, you know, they're coming in with this extra baggage. They're not even being accepted just for who they are as a person, but they have to be accepted for them, their kids' baggage, their baby daddies or baby mamas or whoever else is involved, their parents. And it's a lot to really swallow when you're coming down to deal with the components of it. Am I ready to be a step parent? Hey, you know what? Hats off to you. I'm going to tell you that it's work when you become a step parent. And it's more work than just being a regular parent. And those are the unsung heroes. Those are the heroes that say, hey, you know what? I'm giving my time, my energy, my resources, which is the most valuable commodity, your time, to somebody else's responsibility. So that way, that child grows up and becomes successful and has the same exact amount of choices as if it was your biological child. Now, me and my wife, we share 2 biological children now. So there's other components that come in with that as well, as far as like raising them. You literally have to look at each and every child differently. Number one, for starters, you have to look at each and every child differently. Like each and every child is going to have their own personality type. You could put the same kids through the same exact thing, and each and every one of them are going to have a different experience, a different perspective. One may take an experience okay. Example, you have 3 kids. Take all 3 kids camping, whitewater rafting. You have a introvert, extrovert, extrovert. So what's that mean? one of your kids just likes to be at home. They're like a homie. They like to be at the house, just chilling. They don't like to go out. They don't have many friends. They like doing little arts and crafts and kind of like introverted activities. Extroverts are people that like to go out there and run in nature and swing from trees and do all the live action stuff. They don't care about getting dirty too much. They don't mind going out there and getting hot and sweaty or go cold. You know, they adapt, and they're extrovert. They like to go out and do extra things. So you got 3 kids. You send them through the whole same thing. You're camping as a family. You're whitewater rafting as a family, trying to enjoy and create these memories. 2 of your kids love it. Can't wait. They love it. Talk all about it. The other kid goes through it, who's the introvert, and they hated it, every minute of it. They just wanted to be in the tent or the cabin or wherever you guys stayed at. They didn't even care about going out whitewater rafting and doing all this extra stuff. Maybe they're scared. But guess what? That's a part of who they are. So you see how you have 3 different kids going through the same exact experience, but each one of them got their own perspective. That's for starters. You have to take each kid at face value for what they are, who they are, and get to understand them and learn them and know them. 2, if you're dealing with kids with multiple different baby daddies, or you're dealing with a girl that has multiple different baby daddies, you have to take each and every baby daddy now into account and say, hey, this one's super mature. This one's a drug addict. This one's an alcoholic. This one has all the right components, and maybe you're lucky enough and blessed enough that you actually have a mature relationship and you can cultivate that mature relationship. Because at the end of the day, your influence coupled with that biological parent's influence is what's going to determine how that child is being raised and the outcome and the opportunities for success. That's all going to come from the team, and that's where team mindset comes in. I don't have any type of jealousy. If you have jealousy problems, you got to go. You got to get help. You got to go get help, go to counseling, talk to people, talk to someone one about it, you know, because jealousy is going to ruin it all. You can't be jealous, and you can't identify your girl or those kids as your property. They're your responsibility, but they're not your property. These are independent beings that have their own mind, that have their own will, that have their own soul. And what you should be doing is guiding them, encouraging them, leading them, and helping them to develop into those successful people that contribute back to society. Those independent adults that end up developing mature relationships and interdependent relationships. More for that for another time. Anyways, this is Duty of Dad. I'm Danny. I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth conversation about do not sign up and get with a girl that has kids or a kid from another relationship until and unless you do a deep dive into your own thing and say, can I accept all of what it is? Because guess what, gentlemen? It's a package deal when you're dealing with that. If you can, hats off to you. Much respect. A lot of guys can't. And a lot of guys don't have the roadmap on how to deal with those situations. But if you like what I'm putting out, please subscribe to the channel. Follow for more. Give me some advice. Give me some suggestions on content you guys want me to create. Some points you want me to talk about, and I'll definitely expand and go into depth about that. Until next time, let's lead from the front, guys. Appreciate you. Have a good day.